Good morning. Oh, goodness. Let's go to the top of my shelf. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Dawn, creator of the Wikipedia and Kitchen Witch Corner. Again, technical difficulties meant that the original stream had to be replaced by a new stream. So if people are lost, I don't know. I think it is just a matter of YouTube interacting poorly with my very poor excuse for equipment, and for that I do apologize. Equipment is expensive, and I'm doing my very best to improve that situation. But anyway, morning. I'm Dawn, and today I am going to talk to you about my favorite or my best recommendations for new gardeners for your witchy kitchen garden. First, the reason. I thought that it would be a good idea to just sort of give people pointers for or point them in the right direction for a garden that is going to give them early success. A lot of times you might a lot of times people say, "Oh, I'm going to grow some plants, some magical plants, some food plants, some medicine plants, whatever." And the some plants are just a little more complicated to grow, but some plants are super easy. So I like to recommend people start with the super easy but still useful and rewarding plants, so that you get that short-term reward of successfully gardening, to encourage you to continue to experiment and thus learn. The plants that I chose were, some of them grow very quickly. Some of them grow, some of them are perennials that will grow for you forever. And some of them are, well, all of them, most of them, yeah, all of them are suited to growing in a pot indoors if your current garden situation does not allow you to plant them outdoors. So you can start them in the winter, you can start them in the heat of summer. And I do have plants that like cooler and warmer weather. So without further ado, my number one favorite plant, and I suppose I should be going backwards, but I'm not. My very, very favorite easy plant for beginners. And this is not the plant I started with. Is lettuce. It took me a lot of years to get around to growing lettuce. Lettuce is a great plant for beginners because it can grow indoors, it can grow outdoors, it gets there quickly, and even you don't have to necessarily wait for your lettuce to be fully mature to start picking baby greens. I'm sorry, just let me do this really quick redirect from the original link to this one because technical difficulties, and I don't want people this link to today's stream. Okay, I'm good. Lettuce. It grows quickly. You don't have to wait for it to be fully grown before you can use it. And it is very useful. It's extremely useful in the kitchen. You can also, uh, if your lettuce bolts in the garden, that is, if it starts to flower, if it goes to seed, it's fine. It produces one of my favorite flowers, and the bees are all over them. The bees love them. So lettuce is definitely my number one uh, pick. If you have found in the past that lettuce upsets your stomach, that salads don't do good for you, I myself cannot eat iceberg lettuce, and I even have trouble with some romaine lettuces. Um, but the lettuce that I grow myself is perfect. It's fine. It does not uh, it doesn't bother my stomach at all, especially if I pick it young, and even when it's closer to mature. I like. Let's see. My favorite lettuce is speckled trout and Paris Island Cos. That's like a romaine type. The speckled trout is, I think it might be a romaine too. But you can also get the buttercrunch and the bib lettuces, and they are much more um, easy on your stomach. They're like a softer leaf. Um, yeah, so I do apologize. Lettuce sap actually contains a morphine like compound. So, medicinally, lettuce is considered cooling and relaxing. And if you allow the lettuce to bolt, then you get a lot more of that bitter sap. It doesn't taste very good anymore, but that bitter sap has morphine like compounds in it that do act as relaxants and, sorry, uh, kind of a very mild pain relief. I mean, it's not morphine. Wild lettuce, of course, has more of these than the domesticated versions, but once it's bolted and onto seeds, you do get an increase in the compounds. My second favorite is radish. And the only reason it is my second favorite is because so many people don't like radish. Um, Radish grows quickly to form a little bulb. I have a long history of having very, very bad experience with root vegetables. So getting a radish to grow was just a huge thing for me. And since then, I've grown carrots and turnips with more success. Sometimes you just have to make something work so that you can make other things work. Um, Radish is not everybody likes it. But if you don't like radish, actually, I suggest you try cooking it. They're very good roasted. Give it a try. I know it seems weird. I thought it was weird to roast radishes, and I put them in stews too. And you know what? All the radish haters around here, they didn't even know there was radish in the stew because it doesn't taste the same. It tastes like a completely different vegetable. But the reason why radish is easy is because it's super duper quick. You can you can plant a radish in the ground and have a radish in 2 to 3 months, depending on the variety that you're looking at. Um, and then there's just lots of things to do with them. I am not aware of magical attributes of radishes off the top of my head. I know horseradish has a bunch of stuff, but horseradish is a little more complicated, so I'm really not recommending that one. Although once you plant a horseradish, you can't kill it. I mean, I suppose somebody may have killed a horseradish at some points, but it takes dedication, which is so it can kind of be a problem. Um, Both radish and lettuce prefer cooler weather. But again, they can grow indoors. A radish is not a very big root vegetable, depending on the radish you get. There are really big ones, but for the most part, you're looking at a really small root vegetable. So your soil doesn't have to be that deep. Like that's plenty. Um, And of course, lettuce you can plant anywhere. Uh, the trick to lettuce, though, is make sure you just sprinkle the seeds on the top and don't bury them because they need the light. If you bury them, they'll never grow, and you'll be like, I can't grow lettuce. um, number 3 is bush beans. Beans, the mature beans, the seeds themselves have a lot of magical attributes, and you can get those from bush beans. But most of the time, when I'm growing bush beans, I'm getting green beans. The reason why I recommend bush beans, they grow quickly in warm weather. It has to be warm. They're not going to tolerate the cold like lettuce and radish will. So as long as there's not going to be any frost for 3 to 4 months, I feel like that's high. You can plant a bush bean. It's going to take about 2 months to really kick it up, and then that thing is just going to keep cranking out beans. Some people prefer pole beans, and they're climbing beans. Um, and I have been told that you get better yields from those, and they produce more. But I I actually find pole beans to be a bigger pain in the butt. Yeah, I mean you got to come up with a support for them, and then they get all up out there so the deer can find them and the birds can find them. The bush beans are on the ground and you can cover them, and you don't have to build anything special. But I do know people who have supports that are like built into their garden that are permanent, and in that case, you're looking at a much easier setup for your pole beans. But basically, you're going to get the same kind of bean either way, or not the exact same kind of bean, but you can get the same kind of beans in both bush and pole form. Now, if you're looking for green beans, you want to look for snap beans. Um, is what they'll be called in the catalog. And now, many of those, though, you can allow to mature. Just leave them on the vine. Don't pick them until they get all hard. And then you can collect the seeds and use those as soup beans, or just grow them again next year. But bush beans grow very easily. They do not seem to be bothered by a lot of pests. Pole beans, to me, in my life, I've had a lot more trouble with pests in pole beans than bush beans. Each plant doesn't take up a lot of space, so you can fit a lot of plants in a pretty small space. And of course, if you're doing pole beans, you can fit it even more. And then you just keep getting beans. And I do generally do 2 or 3 plantings a year because after a while they start to get old and they're not tired and they're not putting out as many beans. But then I have this next batch that are starting to put out beans. But as long as it's warm out, they will grow and they will put out beans, and they're just really fun to grow and really easy. And you can grow them in a pot. Number 4 I have is tomato. Tomato is not as easy as the buzz around tomatoes would imply. But I don't find them to be particularly difficult as long as it's warm out. Last year, I had a terrible tomato year because it was so humid that I had early blight on my tomatoes. I have never had early blight before. That is a fungus that grows on the tomatoes, on the plants. It kills the plants. It damages the fruit. It's just gross. It's just like, I've had late blight before, but usually once the late blight hits, it's late in the season when it starts to get cold and damp in the fall. The tomatoes get all like shrivelly and they get fungus on them. They've already given me the tomatoes they're going to give me. So that is not as big a deal. But last year I had early blight. Many of the tomatoes that I did harvest had like black spots on them. The plants died early. It was just a wreck. But we had such a humid, rainy, awful year last year. The year before, I've been growing tomatoes since I was a little kid. I have never had early blight in this area or in my previous home. Though I imagine in more humid areas, it's probably more common. So probably in humid areas, you might have more trouble with tomatoes than we have here. As long as you have a long enough span of warmth, you can grow tomatoes. They can grow very well in containers. Tomatoes come in indeterminate and determinate varieties. Indeterminate varieties grow forever, and you can put them on a trellis so they'll grow high. I mean, I've had tomatoes that I had to go get my much taller than myself husband go and help me pick. But not last year, obviously. But if you're growing it in a pot, you want to look for a determinate variety of tomatoes. Now, people will say determinate varieties do not need staking. This is not true. The difference between an indeterminate and a determinate tomato, or some may say a vining tomato and a bush tomato, is simply their habit. A determinate tomato grows to a predetermined size. A indeterminate tomato is indeterminate. I am told that you can pinch off the ends, the growing ends of the tomato to get it to stop continuing to grow. I don't. I'll have to do some more experimentation with that. From like my casual observation, this hasn't really worked in my. But I don't know. I haven't done any controlled experiments. A bush tomato is going to grow to a certain size, determinate tomato. So you put it in a pot. I use like big buckets. And you want to put it in a big pot, at least 2 inches across, I would say. And then just, their stems are pretty brittle. So as they're growing up, you do want to stick a stake next to your determinate tomato and tie it so that it doesn't break on you. And also doesn't fall over, now it's not going to kill the tomato if it breaks because it'll just make new roots, especially the indeterminate. I don't know if the determinate ones do. I don't grow the tomatoes very often. I've tried a few, but again, make sure you stake them because they lie when they say you don't need to. So yeah, they grow great indoors in a bucket, and as long as you get the determinate type. If you have a big trellis and you want your tomato to like grow up, that would actually be really cool looking. You could do an indeterminate tomato in the house. Needs lots of light though. Keep your temperatures above like 60 at night. And they can handle a lot of heat during the day and lots of sun. Next is peppers. And there are actually, I'm sorry, let me go back. There are magical attributes to tomatoes. If you go to the Wikipedia, I have a page called An Alphabetical List of Magical Herbs. So that's wikipedia.com/an alphabetical list of magical herbs. You can also there's also a search engine. You can use a search engine. And on sacredhearth.com, I have a page called Magical Food Correspondences. So definitely check those out because you can get more information about stuff there. Number 5 is absolutely a favorite. I use it for food. I use it for magic. It is such a fun plant to grow. It's cayenne pepper. I have had a lot of problems with other peppers, especially bell peppers. But cayenne pepper loves to grow. It's a cute little plant. It is an attractive plant. It takes a while, at least in my area, to get going. But once it does, those peppers just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And the cayenne pepper is great, obviously, for food, for making red pepper flakes for your pizza, for sticking in your pickles to make spicy pickles, um, for your chili, but also to grind up for protective powders, for banishing powders. And I also like to hang them on my door to keep. That's my rooster. He's not feeling well today, so he had to come in the house. He's been in the house for 5 days now. He hurt his comb. We don't want it to get infected. So he's being loud. Yes, I like to hang my peppers together like on a string. And hang it on my door for protection of my door of my home. And it also provides the peppers dry on the string and its storage. I just take a needle and thread and just thread it right through the peppers. I'm pretty sure I did a whole video on peppers, or possibly a video that included peppers about Mars herbs somewhere. I will find it. So peppers like it really hot. Cayenne pepper plant isn't very big. You can easily grow it in a pot as long as it gets plenty of sun. And I just put it in my herb garden or my vegetable garden or wherever I have space, as long as there's sun. Number 6 is cilantro. Again, not everybody likes cilantro. Do I have? I do not. Not everybody likes cilantro. That's fine. No judgment. I love cilantro. I also love coriander, which is the seed of the cilantro plant. And if you've had coriander from the store before, that is great. But if you take the green coriander right off the plant and grind that, oh my gosh, it is so good. And also the flowers in between, the bees love them. The butterflies love them. They are wonderful. They like cool weather. They will bolt and then die in the heat of the summer. But if you leave the seeds on them, those seeds will fall to the ground. And then when it starts to get cool in the fall, they will grow their own selves back. If you don't want this to happen, don't let the seeds fall to the ground. But yeah, I planted coriander. I've got a couple different plantings of coriander in my invasive garden, in my perennial garden, which is also my invasive garden. And it just keeps coming back. And I always have, as long as the weather is cool, I always have cilantro. And again, you can grow it in a pot, but in the house, you kind of have the risk that it's going to get too warm and too dry and not get watered enough. So just keep that in mind, and you'll be fine. Number 7 is thyme. Thyme is a perennial. It will grow forever. There are a couple different types of thyme. There's lots of different flavors. I use thyme a lot. It is my primary banishing herb. I also use it in cleaning solutions. It gives me it's got a nice, almost like Lysol scent to it that makes me think of clean. So I like to use it for cleaning and also banishing, which is really cleaning. That's all banishing is. Thyme is tricky to grow from seed. I do suggest you get your thyme plants already grown and stick it in a pot, and it will spread itself. It does have lovely flowers in the summer. Again, the bees love it. You can get thyme honey. It's very low growing. It looks cute in a pot, and it also looks cute at the front of a garden. Because it's just this lovely little cute plant that sometimes has little pinky purple flowers on it. And it smells amazing. I actually have an area that's all planted with thyme that is a lawn area that my husband mows periodically. And oh my goodness, it smells so good over there, especially after he mows it. But if you're just walking over there and you step on it, it's like, that's nice. Next is garlic. Garlic is great for banishing spells. I also use it as an offering to Hecate, and it is so good in foods. It is so medicinal. It's good for your heart. It's antiseptic. It is an amazing plant. So plant lots of garlic all the time. All you have to do is take, you got your bulb, your bulb of garlic. It's made of lots of little cloves. Break those apart. Take the cloves, the small pieces, and stick them in the ground in the late summer, or even in the middle of winter, or even like right now. It's March and it's still cold out. I actually stuck some out yesterday because it was starting to sprout. Some of my personal garlic that I harvested last year was starting to sprout. So I just said, well, I'm just going to stick this in the ground and see how it goes. Garlic is like, you can't grow enough garlic. It's so easy to grow. Just stick it in the ground in the fall or in the winter, and sometime around late summer when it's real hot, August, maybe September, dig it up and you'll have a whole new bulb out of each one of those little cloves that you planted. They'll be all different sizes. Some of them will be really big. Some of them will be skinny. And again, I like to braid these together. You can't braid all garlic. You can only braid soft neck garlic. But you can still kind of manage with a bit of wire to get hard neck garlic to cooperate. And then I hang that up there right next to my cayenne peppers to protect my doorways, and also store it. Yeah, garlic. It's so easy to grow. And it has the bonus with your hardnut varieties, anyway, is you get garlic scapes in the early summer, late spring. They are the little flower buds, not yet bloomed buds of the garlic flower, which is also lovely if you choose to allow that to bloom. And those are like, they're delicious. They're kind of a mildly garlic flavor with almost an asparagus-y texture. It's really hard to describe, but it's not something everybody eats. So you're going to have to experiment and discover for yourself how wonderful they are. Number 9 is basil. Basil only grows when it's very warm. You can grow it inside. Grows very nicely in a pot. I have basil in a pot right now because it is March and it will die outside. I like to sprinkle basil seeds around all of my tomato plants. They are nice companions. And I actually do not have a great taste for basil. Some people love basil. I like to get just a little bit of a basil flavor, a little bit of that, like I can smell it, but I don't have a lot of taste of it. Actually eating the basil leaves, like on a calabrese salad, upsets my stomach. So I don't. But I do kind of like scent my sauces and my pizzas with basil. But I also love to use basil in cleaning solutions before company comes, especially family, because it kind of has this harmonious energy that's like, look, we can all get along. We can all sort this out. We work better together. This is kind of this harmonious, loving basil energy that is great for my magical working. So I do use a lot of basil, even though I don't actually eat basil. I like to smell basil. Okay, so for number 10, I have chamomile. Chamomile, we all know as this relaxing, soothing tea. Helps you sleep. If you have hay fever, chamomile is a close relative to the type of plants in the aster family that cause hay fever. It has the flowers themselves will likely trigger your hay fever. I'm sorry. 1 minute. Growing in the garden, it will release pollen that may make you sneeze and whatever other symptoms you get. I have seen lots of warnings, not that the chamomile plant itself, when ingested, may also cause hay fever symptoms. I do not know if the leaves will, if the flowers will. Um, so just if you have hay fever, use caution. Um, both the flowers and the leaves can be used. They're dried. They make a lovely tea. It's kind of a candy apple. I mean, it says apple. Many people say it's like apple scented, but it's really almost more like apple Jolly Rancher, except not sweet. I don't know. I can't really. Anyway, um, chamomile grow very well. They like it warm. I actually have chamomile reseeding and growing itself in the exact same spot I have the cilantro reseeding and growing itself. And they have created this lovely succession where I have cilantro, chamomile, cilantro. It goes like that. So they will reseed themselves. If you don't want them to do that, don't leave any flowers on when you pick the flowers to use for your tea. You can grow them indoors also just as well, and that won't be a problem. I have hiccups. Um, chamomile, beautiful flower. The bees love it. The pollinators come for it. Smells great, looks great in your garden. There are two kinds of chamomile. There's German chamomile and Roman chamomile. German chamomile is tall, kind of spindly, flowers at the top, lots of lovely feathery leaves. Both the leaves and the flowers can be used for tea. That is an annual. That is the one that I'm talking about in my garden that reseeds itself. Roman chamomile is short, kind of like a ground cover, and still has a similar flower, similar leaves, similar scent. You can use it the same way. It is a perennial. I have been trying so hard to get Roman chamomile to grow in my herb bed, like around the stepping stones and in areas where I want something growing very low, kind of like as a replacement lawn in that area. No, it does not cooperate with me. I did have some going pretty well a couple years ago, but I let the weeding get away from me, not even that much, and the lawn encroached on it, and it just died. I find the creeping thyme to be a much better ground cover than the Roman chamomile, but I still have hope. I will, if I ever figure it out, I will tell you all about it. But the German chamomile grows great, beautiful plant, and very useful. And that's 10. I have bonuses now. Bonus one is oregano. The reason why oregano is a bonus and not a regular whatever is because it is so invasive. If you plant this thing outside, you will never get rid of it, which, that might be fine. So you can plant it in a pot and not have to worry about that bit, or just plant it in a place where it can go crazy. It does take a couple years to go crazy, but once it does, it goes crazy. It has lovely flowers. Bees love it. I love oregano for, for spells for like just bringing in joy and banishing, just banishing melancholy, I guess. So it's good for banishing anything that like brings on feelings of despair, depression, uh, even like grief. It helps you grieve. Oregano is a just a lovely herb to have around. But if you don't have a spot to put it where you don't have to worry about it going crazy, you can put it in a pot. Next bonus, lemon balm. Lemon balm, I find, is too crazy to grow in a pot. You may be able to grow it in a pot if you keep it trimmed up nice, but that's too much work for me. Lemon balm is another member of the mint family, like oregano. It not only spreads by rhizomes under the ground, but it also reseeds like crazy. It is the most invasive plant that I have in my garden. No, take it back. That's fennel. But I'm constantly taming my lemon balm, not complaining. I love lemon balm. It is the best tea for panic attacks. Oh my gosh. And like the panic attacks that you get in the middle of the night and you don't even know, like, did I just dream something? Like, what the heck is going on? You can't go back to sleep. Lemon balm. If you take it before bed, then it doesn't happen in the first place. And it tastes good, which is important for tea. And really, that's the only thing I use lemon balm for, and that is enough. I make this lovely like thing in the summer where I take watermelon and put it in the blender so I get like a slurry, and then I thin it out with a super strong lemon balm tea. We call it watermelon chill. It is awesome. Bonus number 3. Another incredibly invasive plant. I'm saying, and I'm going to be very generalist. I'm going to say bramble berries, and by these I mean your blackberry, raspberry, thimbleberry, brambleberry family. These are the berries, those little berries that look like composite berries that grow on thorny canes. These are so the berries are Venus, the leaves are Venus, the berries are water. The canes themselves are Saturn. So I love the canes for boundaries in the yard. They're thorny, they grow like crazy, they will grow in places where nothing else grows. I've got tons and tons. I've got both blackberries and our wild black raspberries growing under this stand of spruce trees where nothing else grows. And I can't even keep up with them. I cut them back every couple of years and they just whatever. So if you want a plant you cannot kill, that's a great plant. However, you can't grow it in a pot. You might be able to grow it in a pot. I don't know. It's crazy. Super invasive. You have to have the right place to grow it where you can just like put it there and it's not going to bother anybody. Otherwise, it will bother people. Actually, a lot of the blackberries that we have growing, and we've got white raspberries. We've got a ton of these bramble berries that came from someone else's yard. They're not even, we didn't plant them. We planted some. Some of them came from other people's yards because they are that spready. So, but there are, depending on where you are, plant the ones from your area. There are native bramble berries, I think, on every continent. So pick the one for you, something that is not going to mess with your environment too much. Bramble berries, the berry is Venus. I like to use it to celebrate, romantic things. It makes a lovely jelly. It makes a lovely addition to wine, to lemonade, to teas even. Nice and sweet. I don't care for the seeds, which is why I do stuff to it. It is very good for the digestion. It has lots of it's water, so it helps you like flow. The canes are thorny. I like them on my borders when as a protection from negative energy from outside. As the energy passes through the thorns, it is broken up. Shh. Only energy in here is mine. All that energy is busted. It's gone. It's down in the ground. It's fertilizer now. The leaves of some bramble berries. Now you want to check what you're doing. The leaves can be used as teas as well. It is my belief that they all can be used for tea, all the leaves. But you do want to check to make sure that whatever you're growing specifically is okay to eat / drink. They do make a very nice tea. And I understand that red raspberry specifically is a very good tea for women, for women's problems. Lemon balm. Repeat what I said about lemon balm. I will, because I am wrapping up Brambleberry now, so I'm going to talk about lemon balm some more. Lemon balm is it is a member of the mint family. It grows super easily from both seed and from a started plant from the roots. You can plant it in the ground. You can plant it inside, but you're going to have to trim it a lot because it gets crazy. It likes sun. It can tolerate heat. It can tolerate cold. It will come back in the spring if it dies back in the fall. It is very invasive, so make sure that where you plant it, you put it somewhere that it's not going to bother anybody. Or just be prepared to babysit it a lot to keep it from taking over the world. Beautiful flowers. Bees love them. Butterflies love them. To use lemon balm, I make a tea. I prefer it to be fresh. It's not as good dried. So maybe freeze it rather than dry it if you need to store it, or make the tea and freeze it if that helps. But I make the tea either hot or cold. Wonderful for anxiety, any kind of anxiety. Lemon balm and chamomile combined at bedtime will knock you out and keep you sleeping. But it's especially good for those late night panic attacks, I find. Lemon balm is great for soothing panic attacks, especially iced. For me, anyway, you might want to experiment a bit. So, yeah, that's my spiel on lemon balm. One of my favorite plants, actually. It's beautiful. It smells great. Doesn't smell like lemon. It smells like lemon pledge. You're welcome. Do you have any other questions? Because I'm about to wrap up. And of course, if you do have any questions later, you can just put them in the comments, or you can come bother me over at the Discord as well. Then I am going to wrap up. I hope you have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Again, I looked up what I'm supposed to be talking about tomorrow, but tomorrow I'm talking about like why witches should care about gardening. That's my topic for tomorrow. What gardening has to do with witchcraft. And so that will be my rant for tomorrow. And I will see you then, 10:30 every Monday through Friday. I will be here ranting about something that may or may not have to do with witchcraft. But if it doesn't have to do with witchcraft, it will have to do with gardening or cooking. So, which is all relates. I will, so good luck to you. Good night or good day. Good morning. Oh my gosh. I'm out. Bye.